Hi, and welcome to the Flex with Aaliyah. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't, like, subscribe, and share. I greatly appreciate it. And today I'm talking about this new goal that I'm trying to accomplish, and it's 100miler. And this particular episode is just talking about what I'm doing in preparation for that event. So if you're curious what that looks like, or maybe you're interested in doing an endurance race of some sort, tune in. I'm going to kick things off with a quote. And I actually have a couple today because I couldn't choose which one I liked best. And they all kind of spoke to me for different reasons. And this one says, when running an ultra marathon, you must run as far as you possibly can and then run 50 miles more. And I like this one because that's probably the feeling of an ultra race, meaning that you're going and that first hour, those first 20 miles, everything seems so long and you think you've hit a massive milestone in the race, which halfway is a milestone for sure. Don't get me wrong. But then that's just where it actually starts. The first half is the easy part. The second half is the real journey, we'll say. Another quote that I have that I liked was, when running an ultra marathon, if you find appreciation for the first 99 miles, the 100th mile comes in no time at all. And this one spoke to me because you just are going and trying to enjoy the ride. So much so that when that last mile comes, it's excitement that you're almost done and you can really appreciate your accomplishment because of the lightness you took the first 99 miles with. And I've done races before where I've been running and maybe I take a pause and I happen to look out and the scenery is just gorgeous. And typically when I'm running, I'm not looking to my left or my right to see what's out there. But 100 miles, I'm not going to run that fast. So enjoying that appreciation. And I remember the first marathon I ever ran, I actually started to tear up during it because the appreciation I felt for being able to do something that many people couldn't. I was so privileged to have that ability to go do this race, have the health to go do this race, because I know so many people that don't. I know people who've passed away at young ages. And in that moment, I felt overwhelmed with emotion and appreciation just to be out there. And I have a feeling that this 100 miles might be a little emotional for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the final quote that I have that I think is going to be the most true is, the pain of running is an excellent remedy for many other pains. Yes, I am someone who will dive into various fitness endeavors because there's shit going on in my life. And I want to experience a physical pain to overcome whatever the hell is going on in my life. And it's the freedom to go out and run almost feels like it helps clear your mind, gives you a reset. And I've definitely been in places mentally where I've just gone. I remember this one time I had come home from a date and I couldn't tell you what was going on in my mind, especially because of how long ago it was. And I just took off running. I just ran. And one, the ability to do that was very refreshing, but I just needed to go feel free to go leave whatever it was that I was feeling in that moment. So I think this 100 miles is going to give me some pain points that I need, that I want to remedy some other stuff going on. Those are my 3 quotes that I have for you today. And now, one, Aaliyah, what the heck are you doing 100 miles? I don't know. I remember the first marathon I ever did. I told myself that I would never do another marathon. And then a couple of days later, I was like, I probably won't. A couple more days later, I guess it wasn't so bad. And then I signed up for another one and I did the exact same marathon the next year. And I remember going through the race and I had this pivotal moment. I couldn't tell you what mile I was at. It was probably 20, 22, something like that. And I was like, remember this feeling. You never want to do a marathon ever again. And I made a mental note in the race of that. Whereas the first one, I didn't make a mental note. I just said it afterwards when I was sore and tired. I was like, I don't really want to do that again. This, I set the marker and that pain marker so I could remember. And actually, it was a couple years before I did my next marathon. I actually didn't do a marathon. I did a couple half marathons and some ultras. Like, what the heck was I thinking? But they were OCR. They weren't straight running. They were obstacle course races. Some of them were 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. And I was able to get through those. I had never done ultras. I kind of just jumped in, was like, let's try this. 6 months, I think, after I had broken my ankle, I was so frustrated with running that I was like, fuck it. I'm signing up for a marathon. And I did. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I just needed to go out and prove to myself that I could do it for how shitty I was feeling about where I was after that injury. So I've actually done multiple marathons after I told myself I would never do it again. And I had a friend who told me he wanted to do a 50 mile. And I remember having this talk with him and saying, I'm never going to do a 50 miler. Screw it. If I'm going to hit 50 miles, it's going to be on my way to 100 miles. Well, I guess I did not lie to him because I've never done the 50 miler and now I'm going straight for the 100. I love challenges. I'm not going to say I'm the most prepared. I'm more of a, let's jump in, and if I've done everything right for my fitness in general, I should be able to get through whatever physical fitness challenge I commit to. And I view this as no different. And I will say, I think the mentality is going to be the strongest piece in a 100-miler. And I've talked to some people. I also coach people doing these long endurance races. One of the sports that I used to do was crew, and it was rowing. And that was the most painful sport I have ever done. Having that in my back pocket, I feel I will be able to accomplish the 100 miles. That doesn't mean I'm going to enjoy it. I think I'm going to enjoy the start, the first 10 seconds from crossing the line to the start, and then the epic traveling to the finish line. The one that I'm doing is 5 laps of 20 miles. And I'm pitting myself, so I have to make sure I have everything prepared beforehand. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm setting myself up and taking care of things. Initially, the things I had to take care of were obviously registration and getting into the race. Then my dog, because usually I travel with her, but because I am continually running, I don't have time to stop and feed her and let her out. So I had to make sure she was taken care of. I also had to take care of work. Who's going to cover the classes that I teach? Can I get away? Can someone cover when I'm done and I'm in a wheelchair and can't walk anymore afterwards? Those were the key things that I needed to do first. And they're all taken care of. So now it's looking up the essentials and preparing myself for this 100 miles. So making sure I have battery packs. Do I need 1? Do I need 2? How long do they last? Am I going to get a charger, a portable charger, so that way when I finish pitting, I can plug one in and have a new one? Do I need a changing tent? Setting up a table. What food am I going to bring with me? And I'm starting to compile a list of things. And over these next 4 weeks, holy shit, I only have 4 weeks, but that is what I'm doing in order to set myself up for success. And then once I kind of have that general idea of what I need, then I'm going to start buying those things. I already know I need a new pair of running shoes. And I'm going to get the exact same pair I have now. That way it's a very smooth transition and the cushion on them is fresh and ready for this crazy 100-mile race. Okay. Because I'm pitting myself, I need to make sure I look at the pit stops that they're going to have, the aid stations, if you will. Because if I'm on this 20-mile loop and they aren't going to have an aid station till mile 15, I need to make sure that I have whatever I need on me every single lap. So visually picturing what I would need if I didn't have an aid station, and then if I had an aid station halfway. But sometimes the food and things that they have at the aid stations don't agree with you. So I always like to make sure I have things on me just in case. I don't like something that they have at the aid station because I always could take it, stick it in my pocket in case I run out of something later on when I don't have a pit stop. And I have from when I ran through Costa Rica, and that was over 100 miles, but that was over a couple of days. I have my vest that has pockets and my hydration pack that I'm going to be using to help get through this because hydration is going to be huge to make sure I can get from point A to point B. Because if you don't have your nutrition, your hydration down, that's going to be an epic downfall of a 100-mile race. You can have all the fitness in place, but if you don't prepare on that nutrition side, you're operating on a depleted level, and that's no bueno. So those are the things I'm doing right now besides panicking. I'm not really panicking because I'm actually looking forward to it. I needed something on the docket that was really exciting, and I was talking to someone, and there was a race in November that I was actually looking at. But that was too long. I didn't want to wait till November. I wanted to rip the Band-Aid off and get it done. So the Bootlegger 100 miles in Georgia was it for sure. And along with my preparation, it's how am I going to get there? Because I am pitting myself, I'm going to be driving down there and I need to make sure that I'm not spending 12, 13 hours in the car and then trying to run this 100 miles. I need to plan out the trip down and make sure that I have everything in my car that I need. So I'm setting myself up for the best success possible. And so right now, that's all that's happening is that baseline compiling of lists, taking care of schedules, and then this week, next week, the action is going to take place of start making purchases, shoes, maybe a changing tent, already have a table. Do you need to go to the store to get the shop blocks? Do you want to order it on Amazon, et cetera, like that? That kind of also goes hand in hand with the quotes that I told you at the beginning. And that pretty much appreciate the journey. This setup of success, appreciate now because you're kind of going to be in hell for many hours. They have a time cap of 32, and you actually will be able to track. So if you want to see how slow I'm going and follow me along, I'll post a link on my social media page so you can see my progress as I go. But I have 32 hours to get 100 miles in. There's about 7,500 feet of elevation gain. To put in terms of what that is, I don't know. I'm just going along for the ride and enjoying it. I'm going to accept the challenge and I better fucking do it. That's all. That's all there is to it. There is no other option unless I roll my ankle and hurt myself, something like that could pull me out, which I don't want. So taking all the precautions and having everything with me, which is the best part about driving down, is I can always take extra. Better to have than to not have. And the weather, it's 4 weeks away. You can't know what the weather's going to be like in 4 weeks. You can look, but is it going to rain? Is it going to be cold? Having your pants, your raincoat, your shorts, a long sleeve, a short sleeve, you want to be set up. Maybe you want to change a shirt or your pants at some point. But if you don't prepare for that, then you're shooting yourself in the foot before you even have that opportunity. So that is where I am right now on setting up for my 100-miler. If you have questions about what I'm doing for my training for it or anything like that, send me a message, put a comment, And thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, stay flexy, and I'll catch you next time on the Flex with Aaliyah. Thank you so much for tuning in.